Hey guys, Chris Grant here, and today I have Grant Dunn of OA Cheddar fame with me. We're going to be talking about online arbitrage leads, how to best utilize them, and then of course we're going to talk a little bit about OA Cheddar, which is the brainchild of Grant Dunn. And how many partners do you guys have? Is it just one?
Just myself and Gabe. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to chat a little bit about OA Cheddar, what it is, what it does, how you can best utilize it, and then we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. Sound good, man?
Cool. It sounds great, brother. Looking forward to it.
So tell me a little bit, like, what got you into the Amazon world? What what brought you here? What did you do? Did you do RA, OA? Did you do some of both? And then what brought you to getting into offering arbitrage leads?
Sure. Okay. Let me try to summarize this as much as I can. But basically, about 9 years ago, I decided I wanted to figure out how to make money online. Did some affiliate marketing, network marketing type stuff, lead gen, vlogging, SEO for 4 years. And then in late 2013, I learned about drop shipping. I don't know if everybody remembers, or some people will, DS Domination and that big launch. And so I discovered drop shipping in late 2013, and by probably mid to early 2014, I started doing retail arbitrage. And at the time, I was still working as a plumber. So I did construction for the 10 years right out of high school, and 8 of those years I was working as a plumber, and just desperate to during that entire time to build a full-time income and be able to quit that job. And I was able to do that in, I believe it was the middle of 2000, I think August of 2015. I wouldn't say I was able to, but I took the leap of faith, because we weren't quite prepared for our Amazon business to fund our lives yet. But I also, at that time, couldn't work, 120 hours a week anymore. I was just so burnt out, with 2 full-time careers. And so we've been doing retail arbitrage. Today, we still do retail arbitrage. In fact, in 2018, we sold about a little over 1.2 million. And that's with a team of 3, 4 if you include my wife, and she is actually an asset. So my brother he's a full-time sourcing machine. Dude is, last year was spending about $11,000 a week on retail arbitrage. And this year he's spending, the mission is to spend $15,000 a week between retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, probably about a 65 to 35 split on that. And then I got my cousin who does full-time shipping. He's been with me for about 3 years. Charles has been with me longer. So Taylor's been with me for 2 years almost. And then Charles has been with me full-time for about 3.5. And then my wife does the bookkeeping and pays the bills, make sure that the money is where it needs to be and stuff like that. So we have a really awesome team, and that's really afforded me the opportunity to even explore something like building OA Cheddar. And really what happened it was 2017, I launched a mastermind program called TAP. The apprentice program is what we called it. And we brought on 12 clients. It's kind of like a high ticket coaching mastermind group. And there was I gave away my course, Scan Everything course, and a bunch of other materials and my time, obviously. And what I quickly found out after bringing those folks into the TAP program and working with them and coaching through with them, it was very obvious that they were really struggling with brand restrictions. That was if anybody's been around, if you're watching this video, you've been around for any amount of time, you've learned that brand restrictions really are the kryptonite for new sellers. It's the biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle. And so I started to see that in my clients, and I kind of am obsessed with over-delivering on my promises, because I feel like anything short of that is too close to under-delivering, right? Okay. And so I thought, okay, well, what can I do? What can I do to provide them with more leads that they can buy? And so I went and hired a couple of people out of the Philippines and started training them on how to do online arbitrage. In fact, just this is kind of a plug for you, big guy. All of our team, everybody on our team that has been new in the past, now we're starting to hire people who are more experienced, but in the beginning and even now, if somebody's relatively new, part of their onboarding process is to go through your course.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Tactical Arbitrage Academy. So I've reviewed that course in detail. My brother has reviewed that course in detail, and all of our leadership on the team has as well. And anybody that doesn't already, have experience coming in. So we actually have a team now of 10 Filipinos. But let me backtrack a little bit. So we had 2 Filipinos working full time. My brother was helping. I was working on it. We were just basically trying to give them online arbitrage leads, my tap clients, so that they could fill their stores up and spend through their budget. And we started to see that was having a positive impact. And we actually, TAP started out as a retail arbitrage program. Specifically, there was no emphasis on online arbitrage. And after about 6 to 9 months, I watched my clients transition into full-time online arbitrage businesses. And I was like, wow, this is quite amazing. And so that got us through the end of 2017. And by early 2018, it was at the point where I had started to scale it up and we had to start monetizing. We had to start selling it. And so that's when we launched Cheddar 55. And I think I want to say that was March. Yes, I believe that was March of 2018. And now we have OA Cheddar 55, which is the flagship product. We have OA Cheddar Dose, OA Cheddar 3, and Feta 55. And we're currently working on OA Cheddar 4. And where we'll go beyond that, I'm not really sure, but that's kind of where we're at today.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting to see people transition from retail arbitrage to online arbitrage. I mean, I know that the fundamentals are the same, but it is nice to be able to not necessarily go out in the cold and things like that and do OA.
Well, when you're scanning, you go into the stores and you're scanning products that are profitable, but you have to leave them on the shelf. I mean, that's a painful process. And I personally have never had to experience that, but I experienced that pain with my clients. It was frustrating for me. It was saddening for me. And so I thought, man, they're wasting their time. They're going into the stores and there's great inventory that they can't buy. It's like, it's like I started thinking, well, can I set up systems where they buy for me, but I've only got X amount of dollars to spend. So how far can that really go? And it just boiled down to, we need to expose new sellers to more opportunities because they have limited opportunities. And so how do we overcome limited opportunities? We just expose them to more. That's the best we can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that really is the thing. And if anyone new is watching and they're wondering, what do I do to get over brand restrictions? Unfortunately, the only answer is sell more.
Right.
I've sold for years and years, but we've started selling more over the past 6 to 8 months, just because we want it to be a larger portion of our portfolio. And what we've noticed is that the more we sell, the more we get ungated when we just ask.
Yes.
And so that really is all you can do. Yeah. So that's awesome. And actually, your idea about what could you do if they're, leaving things on the shelves, which fortunately I don't have to do very often. But one idea that I know of that I know some people do is they have shoppers in other cities and things like that. And if there was some sort of co-op where people could be like, hey, you know what, we've got access to this, who wants to buy it, where there's a small win for the person who's able to buy it, pack it, prep it, and ship it. And then the buyer, that would be kind of cool. But that's an idea for another day.
Well, I've seen people do that. I have friends who, early in their Amazon career were on a very limited budget, and those that were not on a limited budget did hire my buddy to shop for him. So, I would tell people out there that if you're doing retail arbitrage, you love it and you're good at it, but you're restricted, I don't think there's anything wrong with, starting a relationship and just networking with some bigger sellers, letting them know your situation and see if they're open to it. I think one of the hurdles you're going to have in that scenario is having a paper trail that, the seller is comfortable with. I think that they may need to provide you, that larger seller might need to provide their co-op partner or whatever, their own credit card that's connected to the seller's account maybe. That would allow a good paper trail to show that the inventory was sourced, in-house essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about OA Cheddar. So I know a lot of people want leads, and then some people worry about leads being watered down and things like that, just because other people get them too. what do you tell people when that's their fear?
Yeah, so when they're concerned about like, the marketplace getting saturated, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's if you're sourcing from a lead list, get used to it. That's the first thing I would say. If you want to be sourcing, off of the lead list when it's published that day, and you want to source those leads, you should anticipate that other sellers that are also looking at those leads are going to come in with you, and the market is going to fall out. However, what we have seen, I would say at least 95% of the time with online arbitrage leads, and there's other variables that come into play, but 95% of the time, if you buy a lead when everybody else bought it, and it was profitable when you bought it, and it has a decent history. Now, all our leads on Cheddar have to have a 90-day, relatively secure 90-day history, so that it's predictably going to sell, for a profit when you buy it. However, you expose that to 55 people who have never seen it before and get excited about that lead, and you're going to see supply go up. What happens when supply goes up? The price goes down. But all things that go up do come back down, right? So as supply goes up, it will re-regulate. And so we've noticed that, anywhere between 30 to, I would say, 90 days, sometimes a little longer even, the market will come back on that lead. That it will, sellers will sell through their inventory, some of them at a loss, some of them at break even, or barely any profit at all. And if you're willing to wait it out a little bit, you will sell for a more significant profit later down the road. That doesn't always happen. That doesn't mean that all leadless leads get saturated, because for example, if restrictions have kind of helped with this. Let's be honest. If you're an advanced seller and you can sell most brands, there's a segment of sellers on the list that can't sell every brand, and so there's some protection in that way. The other thing I would encourage people to do, and this is actually one of my favorite strategies, I know Chris likes this, and this is kind of not talked about too much, but we like to go through the archives. One of my the most powerful things I've done is had a virtual assistant go through the archive of leads that we have from since early last year, and they'll pull out enough leads for me to go spend $10,000 in 2 days. It's not even a thing. It's kind of amazing, actually. And so I think that's where that's where I get excited about online arbitrage leads, is building up that database of leads that I can then go back to in the future, go back through those historical records and find gold that nobody else is paying any attention to.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is one of the best ways to do it. People forget about it, or they forget to save them, or whatever. And and I'll tell you another thing is another thing that we like to talk about and do here that a lot of people don't do is we do the hard things. Hazmat for one of them. If there's full disclosure, I do use OA Cheddar in my own business. So like as soon as you guys put out a list, if there's hazmat on there, I'm on it.
Right.
It's harder to ship. It's more expensive to ship. You can't use Amazon partnered carriers. It takes longer to get to a warehouse, and all those things that keep sellers off of it.
Right.
And we've got several ASINs that are hazmat where we own the thing.
Yep.
And that's even after it's been sent out to a list. So if you're willing to do the hard things, it can often be profitable.
I 100% agree. That's a fantastic tip. We actually, for a while weren't sure if we should put hazmat leads on there, but then it wasn't long ago that Amazon came out with or people started getting automatically invited to the hazmat FBA program. We thought, well, wait a second, there's value in these leads still, and like you just described, you could be the one and only that does that extra work, and now you own a replenishable that everybody else is just ignoring because there's that little bit of extra work. If everybody's going downstream, you might consider going upstream and kind of going against the grain a little bit. Exactly.
Matter of fact, you guys ought to come out with just a hazmat only list. I'd pay for that.
Yeah, I bet you would.
So what kind of budget do you suggest? Like, if people are going to hop on OA Cheddar, what kind of budget do you think is best for someone to get going? And of course, everyone's going to be different, but when people ask me, I know I'm like, well, listen, if you only have $100, you probably should look at books. So what would you suggest if they're just getting started, they want to utilize leads? What kind of budget every week or month do you think they should have to be able to spend on inventory?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've done, I think I'm getting some sort of a call. Let me get Facebook off of my computer here. All right. Okay, so budget wise, doing coaching and dissecting stores. Okay, I've dissected probably over the last year and a half. I've probably really dissected like 25 different accounts over and over and over again because of the coaching services that we provided. And when I also will meet on occasion with somebody who just needs a random coaching call, that's the first thing I do is I dive into their inventory lab account and I start breaking down numbers. I start figuring out projections and how they need to do, what they need to change about their business. And I have found that if you're not selling 10,000 a month minimum as an Amazon seller, I don't see the point in doing it at all. In fact, you should probably be pushing for about 20 grand a month, because then you actually can collect. I mean, most sellers are, if they're getting more than a 25% profit margin, they're like a superhero. They're very rare. I found one guy that can do like a 35% profit margin. He's a very particular buyer, very strategic. He's an older guy and he's good, right? He's one of my coaching clients, one of my first coaching clients. Everybody else that I've noticed, including myself, is right around that 20% profit range. So if you're doing, and that's gross profit. So if you're doing 10 grand a month and making $2,000 gross profit, okay, you got to pay for all of your other expenses. Maybe, of course, maybe assuming you're not paying for any type of coaching or anything like that, there's like $1,500 left on the table. And you have to ask yourself at that point, is it worth, what's up, guy in the green shirt? Is it worth, is it worth you put investing that amount of time to make only $1,500 in a month? And most of the time it's not. That's why scaling a business, scaling an Amazon business is important, because then you can actually start getting paid a relatively decent amount for your time. Okay, so my opinion is if you don't have probably $1,000 per week budget, I don't think you should be selling on Amazon. That's my honest to goodness opinion. I think you need to be ready as an Amazon seller when you come into the space. Now, if you want to get your feet wet and get a taste of how it works and introduce yourself to the systems, put stuff together with a small budget, that's all fair and fine. But if you don't plan on investing at least 10 grand, like I'm talking dropping 10 grand into your store to get things, ramped up, and then replenishing at about $1,000 buy cost a week, that assumes that you're selling about 10 grand a month, right? Because I found that you will sell, if you got 10 grand in your system, I mean, in your system, your Amazon inventory system, that means that money is in a lot of different places. Okay. If you got 10 grand in the system, you might be selling about 10 grand a month. Okay. Well, if you're selling about 10 grand a month and making a 20% net margin, okay, that means that you probably have about a 40% ROI. That's kind of the average, right? 30 to 50% ROI is most people's average. Well, 40% ROI selling 10 grand a month, right? Means that you're probably selling, you're probably moving through let's see, I have about 40% ROI. I gotta think about this for a second. But I'm not going to break down the math anymore because I already kind of lost my train. But what I would say is you probably need to be dropping about $1,000 a week into inventory to be selling 10 grand a month. And if you're not selling 10 grand a month, I don't see the point. Yeah. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It does cost money to make money in this business, and if you're not sending an inventory, then if you're not growing, you're dying.
Right.
Now, I would imagine that with leads, you suggest people to go wide instead of deep, or do you think it's better to go deep than it is to go wide?
For most leads that we're purchasing in our own business, we don't often go beyond 10 units. Sometimes we might go up to about 20 or 30 if we feel like it's a really secure lead, or we've already purchased it and have, kind of determined how fast it's going to move. And then we can go repurchase more because, we went out of stock. We want to try to prevent that happening again. But for the most part, we're buying anywhere between, I don't let my guys buy anything. If they feel like based on my standards, they have to buy less than 5 units to meet my standard, then I don't want them buying it at all, because I don't see the point in putting in the time and investing the time and buying less than 5 units of any ASIN, right? So it's usually 5 to 10 units is what we're purchasing on most ASINs. And I would say probably on an average, it's closer to the 5 level.
Okay.
Just really going wide. For example, I'm trying, I usually will carry in my arbitrage business. Granted, most of it's been retail arbitrage over the years, but we're definitely mixing in a lot more OA this year and over the last few months. But generally, I'll have about 1,100 to 1,300 different SKUs, active SKUs in my store. And that's how we're able to do what we do. So it's all about the wide over the deep for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Tell me this, so there was a heyday for lead providers, and it seemed that everybody and their brother was offering leads, and that seemed to have died down. And I think, yeah, I have run lead groups, and we did a good job. We did some RA, OA mixture, and we focused on a lot of quality. But the thing is, it is hard work, and I just didn't enjoy it, so we ended up letting it go. What differentiates you guys from everyone who either is around or has been around in the past?
Yeah, the first thing I'm thinking is we have some amazing talent, some very committed individuals in the Philippines that I think we do a good job of managing them. We do a good job of setting the expectation. We do a good job of training them, in the early parts. But I have a guy, my main guy in the Philippines. He's been working with me for 2 years. We were actually just, stroking each other's egos a few minutes ago before I got on this call. I was just telling him how much I appreciate him, which I do often because he's amazing. And what I would honestly say is we've got a great team. I've got a great leader and his girlfriend in the Philippines who helped me basically manage the team of 10 that we have. We've been up to 11, and we're actually exploring going up to 13 right now, full-time people in the Philippines. And I think that's really, I think sometimes people get nervous or they are intimidated by the idea of hiring people overseas. And I was too. I mean, 2 years ago when I hired my first virtual assistant, I knew it didn't take long before I was like, why did that take you so long, you idiot? Because it's such a valuable asset to have somebody that you can pay significantly less, but they still have a full, a decent income in the Philippines. And so I don't think that we could scale. And actually, I know that if we were trying to build this company with American wages, paying Americans to do this for us, at even $10 an hour, the company wouldn't exist. There's no way that we could do it. And so it's outsourcing, and it's systems, it's great team atmosphere, and it's also great leadership. And we just continue to invest and pour into our team. Oftentimes, I think they are blown away with how much we are willing to reciprocate their commitment and dedication to our company. So we take care of them.
That's awesome. And that's important. If anybody is thinking, and I know we're talking about leads, but if anyone is thinking about hiring a VA, what he said is hugely important. My very first VA, she still messages me, and she doesn't work for me anymore. I've moved on to the other VAs and things like that. But she still messages me, and treating them well and training them properly is not only going to take care of you in the short term, but it's going to take care of them in the long term and offer them a skill that they'll be able to market even after maybe you don't do what they need anymore.
Well, that's what we found, Chris, is that they're oftentimes way more talented in areas that I am weak. Watching my lead guy, who I do communicate with on a regular basis, just watching how he moves around and how quickly he can come up with solutions. He's a computer guy. And I'm going to be honest, I've been doing this for 10 years and I still don't really consider myself a computer guy. I'm just barely getting by, right? And I'm just been blessed to have good people around me who are talented where I'm not. But I agree, taking care of your team, and again, I think it's also a little bit of luck too. I feel like, Kishi's just been great, man. He's a fantastic leader. He's so committed, and we are blessed to have a great team. So
that's awesome. That's good to hear. All right, I know that one of the things about OA Cheddar is you guys are always seemingly full or pretty close to full.
Right.
Which I think speaks to the quality of what you guys do. So right now, if somebody wanted to, get on one of your lists, what is actually available? And then I know you guys are thinking about opening up a a fourth list as well. But what's available right now?
Okay, so we got Cheddar 1, 2, and 3. Currently, Cheddar Dose, okay, is what we called it. It has 2 seats available, ironically enough. And then Cheddar 3 has 3 seats available as of right now. And then Cheddar 55 or Cheddar 1 is sold out. We have Feta, which is a different type of list. So Cheddar 1, 2, and 3 are all the same type of list, okay? They have the same ROI standard, the same sales velocity standard, the same net profit standard. Feta is the only one that has a different set of standards in which that it has, I would say, a low, well, it's a lower minimum standard for net profit, and it's a lower minimum standard for ROI, but not with sales velocity, same sales velocity expectations on Feta. I like Feta. It's cheaper, right? All our Cheddar lists, 1, 2, and 3, those are $149 a month. Feta is $99 a month. Okay, so it costs less and it has the same amount of people on it and all that. The difference between Feta is that, or why we created Feta, is because we were seeing really great leads that did not meet all of our Cheddar standards, not making it to the list because it didn't meet all the Cheddar standards, right? Cheddar standard is a $4 minimum net profit, a 40% minimum ROI, 10 sales a month, right? And a good 90-day history, okay? But what if something has a $3 net profit, but a 80% ROI? Is that a bad lead? Well, maybe not, especially if it sells 30 or 40 times a month, right? Well, those leads were not making it to Cheddar, and we struggled to get it through to everybody, like the value of Feta. But the reason I'm talking about it is because I'm always surprised how many seats are available on Feta, because I personally really like it. Because it's those oddball leads that just, that stand out, the $10 net profit, but only a 35% return on investment. I still want to look at those leads, right? And so it's funny, we actually have like a core 20 people on the Feta list that have never gotten off. And then we're always rotating out these other 10. I don't know why. And we've never filled it up to 55, which is fine because that's not really the focus. Feta isn't the focus. It's really kind of the overspill. But you go to oacheddar.com, you can take a look at the lists that are available. If a list is not available that you would like to be notified when available, you can add your email and name an email to our list, and we will contact you if we do have seats available. To be honest with you, usually when a seat is available, I just unlock it on the sales channel, because we always have people checking the channel, and it's kind of like a first come, first serve. If you happen to take a look, when it's there, it's there. It has really been difficult to try to manage a waiting list of way too many people. And so we haven't really put too much emphasis on the whole waiting list and then the order of stuff. But what will happen is if somebody like personally messages me or they send a ticket into the support channel, say, look, I'd really like to get added to the list, those names I end up putting on a list so that I can manually invite them because they've gone the extra mile to say that, hey, I really need your leads. So I think I answered your question. Everything's at oacheddar.com. The other thing I would want to point out too is we have a really cool Facebook community on Facebook. It's a closed group, but it's wide open for people who want to request to join. We have 3 questions that we do ask you to answer. One of them includes your email, so we can send you some free leads. Got that tip from my friend here, Chris Grant, and so, yeah, you can join our community. We would really encourage you to do that. Even if you don't want to buy Cheddar List, just come and join the community so you can contribute and glean off of some of the expert advice that's going on in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook groups are an incredible way to not only network, but pick up tidbits of things here and there. It's surprising what kind of knowledge bombs you can find just laying around every now and again.
For sure, bro. For sure. I was gonna add to that, like, people in the early days, when I was just starting to figure out the whole retail arbitrage game, people would be like, well, how did you learn? Like, did you buy a course, you buy a coach, pay for a coach or this or that? And I'm like, to be honest with you, no matter where I was, if I was any type of downtime, and I kind of tell the joke of like, when I was sitting on the toilet, I was on my phone, on Facebook, reading threads. That's how I learned how to do this business. I learned by reading the conversations that were happening between people that were either having a challenge or they were celebrating their success. They were talking, masterminding, and those threads are gold, you guys. You want to learn, just read what other people are talking, just be a spy. And I gained a lot of information, and people think I'm like an expert in this whole Amazon space. All I did was just read a bunch of Facebook posts straight out and all the comments.
Yeah, that really is, outside of Settler University, that's one of the best things to do. Yeah, that's great. And for everybody who's watching or watching the replay, there are going to be links below as soon as the video is over to everything that we've talked about. A link to the group, a link to the waiting list if you want to get in there. So make sure to check those out below. Before we head off, anything else I might have missed, or anything you want to add before we finish this up?
Anything I want to add? No, I want to thank you. I mean, it's been you've been a valuable asset. Like I said earlier on the call, just having access to your course, that's been fantastic. I don't think if we didn't have your course as kind of a launching pad for kind of the fundamental strategies, I'm not really sure how we would have figured it out. It would have been a lot harder. So I would encourage people who are watching that, and they already know. If they know you, they know. But if you guys are interested in doing your own online arbitrage or hiring your own team, which I would fully endorse, and you just want to refine your skills, man, buy this dude's course, because it's helped us. And like I said, we built a very successful company, and his course is part of the equation. So I just really appreciate you, and thank you for your time, man.
All right, well, I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. I'm blushing a little bit even.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, man. Well, listen, anybody who wants to use OA Cheddar, I fully endorse them. I think these guys are great. Not only do they offer quality online arbitrage leads, but the group is also really good. I know you guys go live every now and again, answer questions and that kind of thing. And it's a good place to network and hang out with other people, because not a lot of people outside of this FBA community really get what we do. So it can be a little bit of a lonely road without Facebook and some other places. So make sure you guys hit the links below. If you are just running across this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when we do new videos here. And then, of course, Grant, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today, man.
You bet, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.